Hello and welcome to our second Hammersmith Academy Personal Statement Workshop for Year 12s. This one is very much focused on the supercurricular content that you will need to add into your personal statement to ensure that universities genuinely believe that you have the academic focus to do well on the degree of your choice. So what is supercurricular content? You probably all know about extracurricular activities, things you do outside of school, or maybe even things you do as a session 3, but it's all good for your personal statement. But what it doesn't do is prove to a university how academic you are. You can make some good links about the skills it's given you, but it's not showing your academic qualifications and capacity. Supercurricular activities do that. They demonstrate that you've gone beyond your A-levels, that you've thought bigger and wider, you've done some extra reading, spent some time without being told to show that you are really interested in the subject that you're applying for. Your personal statement needs to be roughly 70 to 80% academic, and a lot of that will be about the supercurricular work that you've shown you've done. It proves to the university admissions tutors that you are really interested. And more than that, it probably proves to you that you're really interested. Because if you can't be bothered to do the supercurricular work and you're not that interested in writing about it, then you're probably not going to enjoy studying your subject for 3 years. So how are we going to go about it? So where do you find this mythical supercurricular content that I keep muttering on about? Well, for starters, you go to the Firefly careers pages that Miss Semple has so beautifully put together. There's lots of information there with lists of reading, with websites, with all sorts of places to visit. You can ask your teachers to recommend books and publications that they think would inform a personal statement for a subject that you're applying for that is linked to something they do. So ask for their advice, they're experts. I put tons of stuff up on Twitter. That's also a really good place. Watch Twitter. I tend to, if I find a useful article or I see a useful lecture or an event, I put that up on the sixth form Twitter account. So keep an eye on that as well. I also would suggest that you can search up for the societies and organisations that represent your subject by searching on Google something like Royal plus Society plus your subject, or Society of plus your subject, and just see what comes up. Quite often you'll find something really interesting where they've got a whole load, it'll be like the society for the subject, and they'll have a whole load of very formal dull stuff attached to it, but there'll also be something interesting about perhaps careers in the field that might make you think something, or maybe there's an article, or maybe there's some links to some interesting resources. So that's another way of doing it. Search the quality newspapers. The Guardian's particularly good for this. You can go on and in the search function just put in your subject, and quite often they have whole areas dedicated to it. So they will have a whole area, for example, that's dedicated to law. They will have a business section. They will have various sections, so they might have something on, I don't know, child psychology or something, but you will find really good articles, and that's particularly useful, I think, for bringing it up to date, making it look like you're someone who's on it, who's just kind of reading things all the time, and who can say something along the lines of, a recent article that I read made me think about this, and so I did this. And that's the kind of content that makes you look really on it. And finally, immerse yourself in my top 5 supercurricular resources, which I'm now going to share with you on the next slides. My number 1 top resource is Staircase 12. I love these people. They do what I wish I could spend more time doing for you all, and I try to do as much as possible. But they're based at University College, Oxford, and they basically take it subject by subject and find all the resources, all the websites, all different podcasts, radio programs, films, etc., and they bring it all together. So you should be able to find something for biological sciences. You should be able to find something for philosophy. I know you can find something for theology and religious studies, because I asked them if they were going to do it, and bless them, they did a whole load of research for us and have put it up. So that's my resource number 1, the very best. Number 2 on my list is very similar. It's the MyHEE Plus, I think that means highereducationplus.com website, put together by Cambridge students. Again, full of resources, but they've taken a slightly different approach. What they'll do is you find a topic that interests you to do with the subject you're applying for, and then when you click through to it, they've got various different topics which, when you click through, ask you a load of questions, give you a bit of reading, might link you to a video, that kind of thing. And that's the sort of thing that would get you thinking. So you think, oh, I could write a paragraph on sustainable development, which actually would really inform a geography application, and I'd be able to bring in something that I read in to do with my A level and a whole load of these other things that they've now given me. So that's a really great resource too. Number 3 is the ever brilliant Conversation. The Conversation is an online newspaper that was set up, as I understand it, by academics who got sick of their research being misinterpreted by idiot tabloid newspapers. So what they decided to do was to take their very relevant and very contemporary research and write news stories around it and represent it correctly. The best thing, the single best thing about the Conversation is not only are you always able to find something interesting, but they're from all over the world, and every article is written by an academic, which allows you to write the following kind of sentence. A recent article I read by Professor Sophie Harrows from the University of Hammersmith was fascinating because it taught me X, Y, and Z. Following that, I read her book, which led me to think this, and I questioned this aspect, and I look forward to studying something similar at university in the future. It's a genius. I think I meant to say it's a genius website, but I cut myself off a little. Anyway, number 4 is Gresham College. Gresham College is the oldest one of my recommendations. 1597 it was founded in order to educate the people of London. In normal times, they run lectures which are free for you to turn up at and listen to experts and eminent and influential thinkers from all over the world. We can't do that at the moment, obviously, but luckily for you, they have got all their old lectures online, and I think they're still recording more and putting them up there. They are arranged by topic, so you can search for them, and again it allows you to talk about having attended something and listened to something and understood something and why it was interesting and what links it made you put together and think about. So number 5 is the one that you probably are most aware of already. TED Talks, we all know about them. We've all watched various cod psychology and delightful ones about how to, I don't know, become an internet entrepreneur. However, they are also very good for academic content. They're also very good if you're thinking about a specific aspect of history or geography or whatever. And you can search by topic. There is something for everyone. I wouldn't rely on them. I think if you just put I've watched TED Talks, that makes you look a bit like you've only got a 5-minute brain, or you've only got the capacity to watch a YouTube video. Well done for watching mine. But I think if you add that to something else and then say you've read something or that you listened to something or that you attended something, I think that can be very useful. So my number 5 choice is TED Talks. So you've got to do something now. I know you like just watching and listening, but I want you to do something now. I want you to basically think through what I've already told you, and for 10 minutes, use some of the links in the presentation and the Firefly website to just research some supercurricular content, to think about where you might find some good ideas and some good content to write for your subject. If you haven't decided what subject you want to do yet, that's not a problem. In fact, it might be a good idea to just pick something you've thought of, because by doing the research, it might help you think, oh, no, I don't want to do that. That's really dull. Or think, oh, yes, this is the way I want to spend the next 3 years. Anything you do, anything you find doing this research, cut and paste the URL and put it in a document. And don't throw anything away. It's my top tip when writing personal statements. Do not delete stuff. Save. Put it in a Word document and make sure that you are able to use it for the future. I know that in the first presentation that I did for you, we talked about how to structure a personal statement, what an academic paragraph felt like, etc. But I thought it might be worth a quick reiteration, because you might not want to watch the whole video again. God knows why. Surely you want to watch it all. However, just remember, each paragraph should be like a little mini essay that explains something about your interest in the subject. Think about how you structure it. Make your point. I watched a lecture. Think about the evidence. It was about this, and that was what made it interesting. Evaluate whether you think it's a good source, whether you thought it would illuminated something that you didn't know, whether it may added to some other expert insight that you already had, and then develop that point and maybe link it onto another. So think about that structure. So for example, you might say, I read this article about biochemistry, which interested me a great deal. So I then watched a lecture by Professor so-and-so, and he talked about this particular aspect of biochemistry. I realised he'd written a book, so I read that too. But then I found a very relevant article by Professor so-and-so, and her research was more up to date and I felt questioned and possibly undermined his research. All of this makes me think I really look forward to studying the subject at university and can't wait to start my degree next year. You see, these are these things, how you pull it all together, and that's what I want you to try and do when you start your personal statement. I hope that's helped for that little bit. Your next 10-minute task is a very simple one. It's about starting your UCAS application. I do sometimes, and it only happens sort of 3 or 4 times a year, get a student who does their personal statement and goes, okay, I've done it. What do I do now, miss? How do you send this off? And I go, no, I don't send it off. You send it off. You're the one making an application. You have to make your choices. You have to fill in all your details, etc. And they're like, oh, didn't realise that. So you need to start your application now. I've put the simple steps in here. Just follow them through and it should work out. There's always going to be something you don't quite understand, and that's fine. That is what Miss Semple and I are here for, to answer questions. But you should be able to make a start. Thousands of students all over the UK manage to make an application to UCAS every year. So if you would like to start now, that would be a really good thing to do. And I'd like to think that everyone who wants to apply to university had got a university application ready, up and running by September. So what's next? Well, really you need to just get on and do something. I've given you 1, 2, 3 videos to help you with your UCAS application this year. Summer is upon us and it'll be over really, really quickly. You know it will be, despite the fact that you've had all this time over the last few months. I know you're probably still saying things like, oh, I should have done this, I wish I'd done that. So use this time, follow the video through, start thinking about your degree properly, start digging into this super-curricular thinking, use the resources and get that application sorted. By the time we come back in September, I would expect everyone to have a really good first draft. I don't want people saying I haven't started, because there is absolutely no reason this year. Times have been extremely strange, but good times lie ahead. We know that a university career is something that you all look forward to, you all have aspirations to, and if you don't, there's plenty you can be doing to make sure you're researching and thinking about apprenticeships or alternative routes. You know where we are, you know that we reply to your emails if you email us, you know that we will call you, and we will look forward to helping you with your next steps as you move into year 13.